Tuesday, April 15th, here on the Just Baseball Show. That's Aram and I am Peter Apple. And in this episode, top performers so far in the minor leagues at every single level. Prospect guru Aram Layton is going to walk us through that. We're also going to talk about how Aaron Judge was named captain of Team USA for the 2026 World Baseball Classic, and a new report about Sandy Alcantara. He might not get traded. And it is all brought to us by the sportsbook born in Vegas that is BetMGM. Remember, folks, use promo code JUSTBASEBALL on BetMGM to unlock that first bet offer up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. Now, what does that mean? Well, you download BetMGM, whether that be on iOS or Android, and use promo code JUSTBASEBALL. Why? If your first pick loses, you'll get it all back in bonus bets up to $1,500. But remember, gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. Aram, before we begin, I also want to let the listeners know I have a banger last word. I'm very, very excited about it. So this is going to be a little bit of major leagues, a little bit of minor leagues, and something that has nothing to do with baseball at all.
That sounds perfect. It sounds like the perfect podcast.
All right, let's get straight into it because MLB Network announced today on Monday that Aaron Judge is going to be the 2026 captain for Team USA, following up Mike Trout as the last captain. And this is from an MLB article written by Thomas Harrigan. Mark DeRosa, the manager for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic, told Judge he reached out to Mike Trout to let him know he was planning to name Judge captain for the 2026 Classic. According to DeRosa, Trout had a simple answer. He should be. I love that. I thought that was badass. Handing the baton over to the next Captain America.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I like the courtesy of it all and everything, but Judge has been the best hitter. Yeah, him and Ohtani obviously, but Judge has been that dominant guy that clearly for USA, he's been the best American hitter in Major League Baseball. So no brainer there. But what also was a really cool wrinkle in this is they're announcing it a lot earlier, and I think they're focused on trying to build up the excitement and attention around this thing. And we've spoken to it plenty on this show because we got to experience it together. But like, it's one of the best baseball environments you're ever going to experience, whether you're there or just watching it on TV. So I love that they are leaning into this even more and announcing these things earlier and building up the excitement. And it's going to be cool seeing Judge now with more time. Everyone knows that he's the captain, like helping recruit players and really try to put the best foot forward here. The team was loaded last year or last time around, and I know it's going to be loaded this time around too.
Absolutely. And this is an excuse to talk about our experience one more time for any of those who didn't know. So we went down to the World Baseball Classic in Miami, and to this day, it was the best baseball experience I have ever had. Seeing all the different countries come into one spot to play ultra competitive baseball, every single game felt like game 7 of the World Series to the nth degree. It was basically the Olympics. All of these different teams, you see fans from all these different countries rooting is so hard. There were protests from some countries, and I still think that AB Shohei Ohtani for Team Japan against Mike Trout to get him on that slider, I thought it was the greatest at bat I've also ever watched in person. It was so much fun, and I'm so glad that Team USA seems to be taking it a little bit more seriously. The last Team USA, of course, they took it very seriously, but by going at it a little bit earlier, I hope this USA squad is going to truly be the best players in the United States because Aaron Judge was just named captain. He wasn't even on the 2023 squad.
Yeah. Which is what I love. And I wonder just the wrinkle of like teams trying to prevent their players from playing in it at points, and if that's going to start to dissipate a little bit more. The lockout side of things may end up playing a part into that. So guys might just say, well, I don't give a shit. Like you're technically like not even employing me right now, so I'm going to go play. So we might get the best turnout ever. I think also losing in the championship game there to Japan, I think is going to fire these guys up too, where you don't want to give up a repeat winner, and you want to get it back too. But also there's other countries that are absolutely loaded. I love that they are finishing it in Miami again, selfishly, but I also do think it's just the best place to do it. It's just such a great hub of so many different teams and countries, and that can all kind of meet in this spot where I just think it's the best melting pot location. But I'm really looking forward to it. 2026 is going to come around pretty quickly, and I mean, we're going to be covering it in detail. I believe the first round at Lone Depot Park takes place March 6th to 11th in 2025. So it'll be fun.
I cannot wait for that, right? The headline Team Japan won it last year, of course, Team USA, but the Dominican Republic is going to be loaded, Venezuela, Cuba, Puerto Rico, places in Eastern Europe. I mean, across the world, these teams are getting ready. I think the 2026 WBC could be even better than the last one, and the last one was the best baseball experience I've ever had.
Yeah, because you're going to think about ways that other guys can, you can try to find ways to see what countries you're eligible for as well. And like, I know like Matt Mervis, when he found out he could play for Team Israel because of his family, like that was super exciting. He gets that opportunity. And I mean, that helps that team immensely. That's a good big leaguer. And I think more players like that could end up jumping on board. I know like Jazz Chisholm's looking at the opportunity to maybe play for the UK, being from the Bahamas. So for Great Britain, like that's really fun. So I think more and more players are going to do that, and it's going to be fun to see how many big leaguers kind of scatter across and play for different countries and represent different parts of their family. So it's going to be fun, and I'm looking at quarterfinal. It will be in Houston and Miami on one side of the bracket. Or yeah, the quarterfinals will be in Houston and Miami, and then semifinals and finals are in Miami. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't wait to break down those rosters when we
Oh
get
yeah.
closer. They are going to be so, so loaded. All right, let's move over to our one Major League Baseball storyline of the episode before we get into the top performers through each level of the minor leagues. I also have a collection of prospects that are knocking on the door in AAA that could potentially help teams sooner rather than later. So we'll go over that in a minute. But first, I want to start with this Barry Jackson tweet that you sent over. And it was so funny. Before we press the record button, selfishly, I'm trying to turn this into okay, he might not get traded, but can we talk about some potential teams? But you're standing pat and you say, why would we do that after this report? And the report is, again, I'm quoting from Barry Jackson. You can follow him at Floss Sports Buzz on Twitter. Flaw, that's Florida. Regarding athletic story today that Marlins haven't decided whether to trade Sandy. My understanding is that they are in no rush to decide. Whether they're in a wild card contention will be in consideration. This is more of a July decision. If they get a great offer with two surefire young controllable starting bats and more, you'd have to consider it. So you see that report. First instinct is.
First instinct is he probably ultimately could get traded. Like I think that's the most likely scenario. But I think the fact that the team's getting out there and making it clear that they are not in it, because it came from an athletic story as well from Will Salmon, who really detailed kind of their situation as well, saying, look, if they're even hanging around and they're continue to play decent baseball, they're not just going to do it. They're not just going to trade him and wave the white flag. So I think that one may be a little bit of a like posturing and a leverage play. Like you're going to have to pry him out of our hands. But I also do think it was to slow down this media machine, and that's a big reason why I wanted to talk about this too. I understand that the Marlins have created this idea around them that most of their best players are going to always be available given their history. But the way that the Sandy Alcantara thing has gone down has been really weird, where you have Mets media members asking Mets players what it would be like to acquire the player that just pitched against them that day.
Mm.
I think that is bizarre. And you have quotes from Lindor saying, or Juan Soto, excuse me, saying how great it would be. It's the best trade that we could make, I think was the quote. Like, he just beat you. Like it's just a weird dynamic there. I'm watching the national television game yesterday, and it's Cubs Dodgers, and they're talking about Steele going down, and they're already talking about a Sandy Alcantara trade there. Again, I know what the Marlins' history is, and I understand how that can play into this, but at the same time, it's a little weird how local teams or like coverage of local teams has been so focused on Sandy Alcantara, and like making this a story at this point in the season. So that was something that I was just glad to see the Marlins kind of get out there. And I don't know how this was communicated, but clearly it was well sourced. And just saying, like, hey, we're not shopping this guy. I know Bruce Sherman doesn't want to trade him at all. And ultimately, if they get to a point where they stink, if they lose a ton of games and they're out of it, sure. But remember, he's got 2 more years of control. I don't think they're going to just force it. And the follow up from Barry Jackson was interesting as well, where he quote tweeted that tweet and said, both parties are handling this well. Sandy is a total pro. He told me he hopes to stay, but will accept anything and isn't going to ask for regular updates. So if Sandy wants to stay as well, look, I still think, gun to my head, ultimately he gets moved because it's crazy that this Marlins team would presumably be hanging around, but it does at least like slow things down a little bit because it just seems like it's gotten a little ridiculous with the way that Sandy's already been shipped to so many different teams, whether you look at local media.
I agree with you. People are jumping the gun really quick, including myself. I'm like, let's start talking about it just because it's so fun
Mm-hmm.
and because of how big the package potentially could
Oh my
be.
gosh, yeah.
And it will be so big. But two important things that I want to note. Number one, the Marlins are not a bad team. They're 8-7 as we're sitting here today. The Marlins are over 500. They face the Braves, who are still a good team. I know they're off to a rough start, but they just beat the hell out of Mackenzie Gore, who's second in strikeouts in Major League Baseball. This offense, Jack and I were talking about it yesterday on the roundup. They're playing with nothing to lose.
Yep.
It's a fun and exciting team. So if the Marlins were 4-11 right now, or they were 3-12 like the Rockies, okay, now I can start to kind of understand the conversation here. The Marlins are 8-7, right? They're 2 years removed from being in the wild card race, right? This is not just some garbage team that everybody's going to be available instantly as soon as the season starts. So that's point number one. Point number two, Sandy has an extra year of control than Jesus Luzardo did or Luis Arias did when both of those guys were traded. He's signed through 2026, making about $17.5 million with a club option in 2027 for an affordable, I think, $21 million.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is just a guarantee to get picked up almost no matter what.
And the Marlins, they have to spend money too.
Yep.
Right?
That's the other thing.
So they have to spend money. He's still affordable. He's got multiple years of control. And you finally have him back healthy. This is a guy who gets fans to the ballpark. So the more we're even talking about it right now, I'm starting to just feel bad that I wanted to start with the trade packages. Because if you look at the full picture, a Marlins team that's 8-7, they have to pay him. He's still has one more year of control than two guys that they already traded away. So maybe next year is the year to trade Sandy. You'll still get a big package.
Yep.
But why start entertaining it now? I think it is a leverage play, like you're saying, but at the same time, it's not a leverage play for no reason. It makes sense.
It's like a truthful leverage play. It's like,
yes.
I genuinely don't, you got to make me want to do this. And
yes.
That's why I think, like Barry said, you get two controllable big leaguers and you put together some package that you can't say no to. Like, then it's like you run it up the chain and let's say Bruce Sherman gets that across his desk and he's like, I don't want to trade him optically. This is the face of our franchise. And I could imagine, the front office and Peter Bendix is telling him, I know, but we're getting like 3 players that could be all-stars offensively or 2 players like that and another good prospect. Say, okay, fine, we got to do it. That's where the Marlins are at. And I think it's a point of advantage. And also, the more Sandy throws and the more he removes himself from that Tommy John surgery and shows that he can build up innings, like if he throws 160, 170 innings this year, and then you go into the offseason, and let's say he throws it to like a 3-4, his value, it may kind of give a little bit because you got less control and one less playoff run with him. But you can also really confidently say that you are now acquiring a guy that is back to becoming one of the best innings eaters and just reliable arms in Major League Baseball. So I think it would almost be a wash, and he'd still almost carry the same value that he would carry if you traded him a little bit earlier. People may also be talking about Luis Arias and him being traded early in the season last year. They lost like every game to start the season.
Yeah, they went 0-9 to start the year.
Yeah, like they were atrocious. So it's different. But this other crazy thing with this Marlins team is, and like I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of a correction period, but even if they're hovering around 75 wins, I think you could justify holding on to them and making it interesting. They're going to get Connor Norby back very soon. They're going to get Jesus Sanchez back very soon. They have Agustin Ramirez a catcher who that's probably their biggest gaping hole position, is mashing in AAA. Ryan Weathers is going to be back very soon. Yuri Perez should be back around June. Again, I'm not saying this team is good,
No,
but they're
I am.
not bad.
I am. I'm starting to get excited. What do
They're
you
not
mean?
bad.
No,
And
why don't we just start saying they might be a good team? Like, what's the problem with that? They're 8-7. They're getting all these guys back. They're playing good baseball. Why not? Why not, Aram?
I mean, I would love it. I would love it. I will say though, they believe it.
Good. They
I
should.
just talking to the guys, man, like they're like we're good. Like we're playing good ball and we're having fun. And
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing. They're having a blast. So, I think you see that side of it. Again, if they lose 20 games in June, different conversation. But they just seem to be piecing this thing together, and the pitching's only going to get better. And if this offense isn't putrid, like that was the big concern was is how bad is the offense going to be? Well, it hasn't been, and they're getting reinforcements. I mean, who knows? So I'm glad we talked about this because I just want to slow it down a little bit. Again, if they lose a ton of games, they could do it. But if they're hovering around 500 or even within arm's reach of 500, I think you can justify holding on to Sandy for beyond just the optics. It's going to help get more people into the ballpark, like you said.
The last thing I want to ask you is I want to go back on you following the Marlins throughout your career. And now the Marlins have had a lot of different GMs, a lot of different people coming in here, some buying Mark Burley, for example, some putting together some teams like that. And there have been some teardowns in the past where I'm sure you, as a Marlins fan, and all Marlins fans listening, didn't believe in the teardown. They didn't believe that that certain GM was doing a good job when it came to trades. So when that GM eventually sent off pieces, Marlins fans wouldn't even get excited about the package because they knew it was much of the same and they assumed the Marlins would lose that deal. Fast forward to now Peter Bendix, where you're starting to see a real plan and you're starting to see that plan blossom earlier than other Marlins teams. So my question to you is the faith of Peter Bendix compared to your faith of Marlins GMs in the past for all Marlins fans listening, because I think it's really easy for some Marlins fans who maybe still don't believe in Peter Bendix to just be like, yeah, we're going to trade Sandy. I don't even care about the package. Why even pay attention to this plan? I feel like, even from an outsider's perspective, Peter Bendix's plan is a breath of fresh air that has not been breathed in Miami for a long time.
100%. And it's what they do once they build this infrastructure here. Like, then hopefully they spend a little bit. And I think that seems to be what's been communicated. But to answer your question, like, I believe this is the best shot that they've had to actually build a sustainable infrastructure and player development. Like, I've been on the backfields for years now with different regimes and seen the way that they go about their business out there. And like, for someone who has been to a lot of different backfields and has really seen how all these different teams develop both in person and just physically at the fields, and then both analytically and from a data perspective as well. I mean, the Marlins were by far the most archaic dating back to the last several years, and they have totally overhauled everything. And I think it takes a little bit of time to see that, but it's pretty crazy. You're already kind of seeing in real time how it's been able to help guys a lot this year. Just from a swing decisions perspective, you look across the big league squad, like it's a huge shift in that regard, and that's been something that's been really hammered home with guys. But I think from the player development standpoint, just the prospect depth that they have, what they're trying to do there, it's tangibly different. We've been talking about that on the show for a while, but I understand how people would just say, oh, it's the Marlins. Oh, it's the Marlins. It's just the same old thing. What's funny is that piece in The Athletic by Will Salmon actually mentioned how rival executives and some other, front office people have acknowledged that the development side of things is totally different in Miami, and that they actually think that's attributing to what we're already seeing. I just don't know how you can look at the shift and also just look at Peter Bendix's resume as a guy who's climbed his way from intern to general manager for one of the most forward-thinking organizations in baseball and say, oh, that guy's going to take over and have no idea what he's doing. I think it's very clear that he's actually tried to create some of those things that they had in Tampa. You're not going to just clone it, but create some of those things that they had there that helped them just create, not only just identify talent, but also develop it. And I think the pitching staff is a great example of that. Like you claimed Ronnie Enriquez. That was I think that was a waiver claim. Otto Lopez was a waiver claim. So those are guys that the Marlins were never picking up before. And then you have guys like Kyle Stowers making adjustments and figuring it out. Even Griffin Conine figuring it out. You got Matt Mervis for nothing. Like these are these savvy moves that the team hasn't really had in the past. You have these prospects on the way now too. Once you have that baseline though, then it's on Bruce Sherman to spend, and hopefully he will because he said he would, and he needs to kind of back his word up there. But this is the most confidence I've had in a Marlins front office really since they won the World Series. Like it's just because at least there's a plan and there's actually data and reasoning to back it up, other than just I like this guy or I like that guy.
Just to again add on top of your all of the great points that you made, how about the draft? Like Peter Bendix, right? We're going to talk about top MLB or top MILB performers. First draft, it looked pretty good too. So not only are they making good waiver claims, are they making good trades? They're overhauling player development, adding more data, but the draft looks better too. So there's so much young talent coming up the pipeline for Miami. My last thing on this too is we talk about major league teams and their incredible farm systems and all that, and who's the best at developing talent. Do you think the Tampa Bay Rays are the best at developing front office executives? We're talking about Andrew Friedman. We're talking about Peter Bendix. Currently, Eric Neander is one of the best GMs in baseball. And there are probably other guys who I'm not remembering off the top of my head that are impacting other MLB organizations. They have to be not only one of the most forward thinking organizations in terms of development, but also they got a great pipeline of just execs.
Yep. Chaim Bloom, you can say what you want, but that's still a brilliant baseball mind, especially from a development perspective. And you see what some of the things that he, left there with the player, young talent in Boston. And then you have, I think he's going to do a good job in St. Louis too. I don't have the most confidence in the world in terms of the free agent side of things, but again, that's still a really smart baseball mind. Yeah. I mean, they're up there with just about anybody. And that's the thing is why Peter Bendix is magically this exception because he took the Marlins job. I think that was kind of the perception there. But it's very clear that there is a tangible shift here in the way that they're approaching things. And yeah, maybe it's a little bit too numbers heavy at times. That's fine by me instead of just arbitrary hand picking players because they look cool and Derek Jeter likes them. Like I just hey, let's take Derek Jeter in that whole regime. Their approach was get the best athletes humanly possible. Great, that worked well. One of them's playing college football now. So like it just I don't really I can't subscribe to not having a specific methodology. Of course, you can stray from that a little bit. And I think that's where fans are like, you need the balance of both. And I get that. But you also have to look at, I think, how do you get to anywhere close to where you want to be? You need to have structure and a methodology and a plan. And then you can bend from there a little bit. But you're not going to be able to overhaul one of the worst farm systems in baseball, one of the worst player development infrastructures in baseball, and all of these things if you don't have a tried and true plan that you try to stick to. And it's not tried yet. It's been tried in Tampa, and I think he's applying a lot of those same things. And I think it's going to work, at least to a degree of getting them in a better position than they've been in the last few years, aside from the playoff appearance. But from a player development perspective, it's been one of the worst in baseball.
Things are looking up in Miami. All right, before we talk about the top minor league performers to start the year, and I'm also going to bounce a bunch of questions over to our guy, Aram, our first break. Top minor league performers to start the 2025 MLB season. Aram, are we going as low as the complex level, or are we starting in low A?
Thankfully, complex level is not started yet. I think it starts very soon, but we're just going to go from AAA to low A.
Go ahead. Floor is yours. I can ask you the AAA questions off the jump, or you can start from low to high, get some of the young guys out of the way, and then we could talk about guys knocking on the door.
Okay, I can start there because I was going to say if I was starting in AAA, you knew who I was going to start with there.
Exactly.
Low A, few guys, and this is the like names you may not have heard of for the most part because, I mean, these are guys that are just starting to get their feet wet, but a couple top 100 guys as well. Franklin Arias of the Red Sox is a guy that I probably should have had in the top 100. And on the just missed, I literally said like, if I could go back a week and adjust it, I'd put Arias on there because I got to see him at spring breakout and was floored. He was a glove first prospect initially for the Red Sox at shortstop, and the bat has really taken off. And still just a teenager, but just seeing the development offensively has been really impressive. And to start the year, 412, 487, 500 slash line, 10% walk rate, 13% strikeout rate. Slade Caldwell, the D-backs, that was their like other first round pick because they had the compensation selection. And Caldwell was one of my favorite prep guys in the class. He's small. He's like 5'7", 5'8", super twitchy, freak athlete in center field. And that was somebody that I thought was clearly the number 3 prepster in the class. Yes, it was a step below because you had Connor Griffin and Bryce Rayner, but I thought he headlined that next tier. And he's showcasing just how solid the floor is going to be with him in low A already, where sitting 273, but he's a 556 on base percentage because he's walked 13 times already this year. But he's a home run, 3 doubles, and 10 strikeouts in that span. He's small. He's going to leverage that strike zone, but then he can sneak it out of the yard when you kind of least expect it. I think there's some sneaky pop there. Josh Adamczewski. I hope I said that right. It's crazy spelling. Brewers guy. I've been getting a lot of questions about him because he's been off to a great start in low A as well. About to turn 20 years old, but 382, 500, 647 slash line. Left-handed hitting second baseman who I think could hit 20 to 25 homers and be that power second baseman type of archetype. Home run, 2 doubles, 2 triples already. One of my favorite prospects in baseball, Eduardo Tayit, catcher in the Philly system, is off to a great start as well. He's extremely young. I want to say he just turned 19. Nope, not even yet. Still 18 years old, which is ridiculous. And he's already in low A, hitting 281, 378, 656. He has 3 homers already in the Florida State League, 3 doubles, and he's only struck out 19% of the time. And he's throwing out 50% of attempted base stealers. I think this guy could become the best catching prospect in baseball in the next year or so. Then Eduardo Quintero of the Dodgers. They've got another guy coming up. Low A, really solid glove in center field.
Of course they do. I mean, are you kidding me?
333, 432, 600 slash line, 2 homers, 2 doubles, 3 bags, and he can play a good center. Just wrote him up for the Dodger system. And then this guy's not on par with some of the other hitters, but I just thought it was cool. Isaiah Drake, Kenyon Drake's brother.
Ooh.
He's hitting 333 with a 484 OBP. The swing needs work, but he flies, and he's a freak athlete. And if you're an NFL running back's brother and you're off to a good start, I'm interested. 3 pitchers real quick too before we wrap up low A. This guy came out of nowhere. Leomar Martinez, the Marlins, 7 2/3 innings, 1 hit, 17 strikeouts, and 3 walks. And this is the thing I'm talking about with the Marlins now. They're just starting to mine these gems. And you see the way that the Brewers have been able to do that. And you see the way the Rays have been able to do that. I'm seeing it a lot more now with the Marlins, but crazy life on the fastball and a banger breaking ball. And then Chase Alsup. This is a Orioles prospect who was just drafted in this past class. I've been floored by the stuff. So through 9 1/3 innings, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 14 strikeouts. His last time out in low A, 5 innings, 1 hit, no runs, 2 walks, 10 Ks. Fastball averaged 96.6 miles per hour. He got up to 99. And this is a guy that was not even taken in day 1 of the draft. So super fascinating arm there out of Auburn, who didn't even have great numbers at Auburn. That's why I love pitching prospects. And then Dazan Hill of the Twins is the last arm I'll talk about as well. Another guy that was not taken in the first round. I believe he was 3rd round of the Twins. I'll double check that in a second. But lefty, 19 years old. He'll be 19 for the entirety of the season. And I was not expecting the velo to be sitting 96 through his first 2 appearances of the season at low A. 7 1/3 innings, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 13 strikeouts because his fastball as a 19-year-old lefty who's 6'5" is averaging 96, and he's got a banger curveball as well and a decent changeup. This is a breakout arm to watch in that system as well.
So no Yankees. It's fine.
Not yet.
I ask, can we get one Yankee in here? But of course, we already got a Dodger.
There's more Dodgers coming.
There's more Dodgers coming. Of course there is. The floor is yours again for, we going to high A or we're going straight to double?
We're going to high A. And by the way, Dazan Hill was the 69th overall selection in 2024. So
Sweet.
Breakout guy right there. High A, name you know for sure. Actually, several names you know. Ryan Waldschmidt is off to a really good start. D-backs first rounder. I thought that was a steal as well, but he blew his knee out, then had to DH a lot of the year. So there were some questions about the defense. Not a lot of questions about the bat. And in high A, he's 12 for 28 to start the year. 3 homers, 6 walks, 6 strikeouts. And that's a pretty darn good start. How about Zaire Hope? Noted top 10 prospect in high A. Just turned 20 years old. He's slashing 400.
real quick. For all those watching on YouTube, did everyone see that smile that Arm had when he said Zaire Hope noted top 10? That guy was happier to tell you about Zaire Hope stats than maybe he's been happy in a long time. Go ahead.
Yeah, because the second that this guy's a consensus top 10 prospect, I am going back on the replies on the top 100 list to drop this to open the year, and I'm going to be super petty.
Just retweet
But
all of them. Like do like a
I'm
full
going,
like
yes,
20, just
exactly.
don't even respond to them. Just retweet all of them.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. 400, 488, 714 slash line to start the year. 2 home runs, three doubles, a triple, and 4 stolen bases. He's already hit a home run 113 miles per hour, by the way. Billy Amick, another Twins guy. I was very concerned about the whiff, second round pick. And look, it's high A and he's a college bat, but he's got huge power and he has mitigated the whiff so far this year. 406, 545, 625 slash line,
Whoa.
25% K rate. I'll take that all day if he can keep it in that range. And he's walking at a 20% clip, so that's great. Christian Hernandez, Cubs prospect. He was once like a big ticket IFA guy. People were so excited about him. Really struggled out of the gate. Finally showed some signs of life last year, right as he was kind of fading into prospect oblivion. And now he's off to a really hot start this year. 417, 475, 667 slash line. He's not really a shortstop anymore, probably going to play second, but 4 doubles, a homer, a triple, and the strikeout rate's just at 17%. And then last hitter, how about Joffrey Rodriguez? Now with the Red Sox. He was the guy that was traded for Quinn Priester, and we were kind of like, whoa, that's a surprising trade, right? Joffrey, 19 years old, hitting 346, 452, 577, 2 doubles, 2 triples, 5 walks, and just 7 strikeouts. And I do think he can stick in center field. So for Joffrey, going to be 19 years old for the entirety of the season, looks like a great get for the Red Sox. 3 arms in high A, another Twins arm. And this is a guy that shot up the rankings once I dove deeper into the numbers last year and made it into our top 100 list. Charlie Soto. I'm glad we have him on there because he's going to be a consensus top 100 prospect by the time everybody makes their updates. He was a first round pick in 2023, I believe. Yeah, 2023. But it was a little bit of a slower development for him because he was a converted shortstop in high school. He's 6'4", 200 pounds, phenomenal athlete with already an elite feel for a changeup. But the fastball shape wasn't great. He's still trying to repeat his mechanics a little bit more consistently, just find the command more consistently. Well, he's done that so far this year. 9 innings, he has struck out 11. He's walked just 3. But the fastball velocity is up through his first 2 outings. He's averaging 98 after averaging 95, 96 last year. He also has 2 more distinct fastballs now where he's got the 4-seamer with ride and the sinker going off of that. I think this guy might be the breakout arm in minor league baseball this year. And Alex Clemmy, left-handed pitching prospect who was acquired in the Lane Thomas deal, major command issues. But holy crap, this stuff is really good. And I think his stat line already this year kind of exemplifies that. 8 innings, 2 earned runs, 16 strikeouts.
Whoa.
But 7 walks. That said, I saw him throw in spring breakout. Worst case, this guy might be like a high leverage lefty reliever, but gosh, he's nasty. And then Blue Jays, they might be developing an arm here. Jaron Watts Brown is off to a great start to the season. 9 1/3 innings, 2 earned runs, 16 strikeouts, and just 2 walks. Fastball shape looks great. Slider's been solid, and the curveball's been decent as well. So hopefully the Jays can develop an arm there.
Whatever happened to Ricky Tiedemann?
He underwent Tommy John surgery,
Hmm.
so he's going to be out for a little while. It's tough, man. Like
Yeah.
he's going to probably end up having thrown like 20, 30 innings over a span of like 4 years.
Damn.
It's sad because the talent's not a question at all.
Yeah, you watch him pitch and you're like, yep, no doubt he's going to be awesome. It's just he can't stay on the field.
I don't want to blame the Blue Jays, but it's been a theme through their and everyone has arms go down, but their number of prospect arms that continue to go down is kind of jarring. And Brandon Barrera is another first round lefty for them who just has not been able to stay on the mound either.
Interesting. All right, should we move over to Double A because I'm bursting at the seam to ask you about these Triple A questions
Yeah, and I know probably even some Double A guys you may have some follow ups on because
for sure.
number one guy is the number one pick in the draft this past year. Travis Bazan has been awesome for the Guardians.
Yeah.
Double A affiliate there. 344, 462, 656 slash line, three triples and a homer. Bazana looks a lot more comfortable. People were talking about the swing and miss in his pro debut. And look, he's not going to be a 70 hit tool guy, but he's going to mitigate the swing and miss enough. It's not going to be a problem. And I think he's showing that already. He's also so patient. But the biggest thing to monitor is, he was swinging and missing at sliders a little bit more once he got to pro ball. He has not whiffed at a slider yet this year. So, yeah, it's a 32 pitch sample, but you take that in the early going here. CJ Kafis, also
But
in the Guardian system,
before
maybe
you,
off to the most ridiculous start I've seen in a long time.
before you move on, I do have a follow up on Travis Bazzana because I really want to know, and I'm sure Guardians fans do too. Like, when is this guy going to make an impact? Because right now, Brian Roquillo is their shortstop, and he's got a 65 WRC plus, and he's not even playing good defense. And then at second base, it's Gabriel Arias, who has been more of like their a utility guy more for him. He could play short, he could play third, he could play second. You could even stash him in a corner if you need him. And I'm sure the Guardians more want him in that type of position,
Yeah.
right? Right-handed bat going up against lefties, platooning instead of their starting second baseman. So you see Travis Bazzana get off to this roaring start, and there is a spot for him right now. I don't think the Guardians are going to call him up right now, but I also think they're going to call him up much sooner than a September call up. So when do you think, because I don't think you believe he's going to slow down anytime soon, when do you think it's just too much where the Guardians, he forces their hand? That would be my question.
I mean, I think the number one thing I'd be looking at if I were the Guardians was how is he performing against sliders and just breaking balls in general? Because you're just going to see so much more spin professionally or at the big league level. And like we're seeing Dylan Cruz really struggle with that and everything. If he maintains this, I think we could see him by June, July. It wouldn't shock me at all. I'd lean towards July, but if he goes nuts, I think sooner, especially if the team is kind of faltering a little bit. Because the Super 2 deadline is around like mid June, and that usually helps, kind of prevent players from being Super 2 eligible and things like that. So that should be around mid June. I would expect that around that time for him to be called up, where it could be like late June, early July would make a lot of sense to me.
So I don't know, truthfully, a lot about the Super 2 deadline. Can you explain, like, would calling him up sooner be worse for the Guardians in terms of that deadline, or how exactly does that work?
Yeah, so Super 2 designation like determines which players are eligible for salary arbitration in their first 4 years of arbitration eligibility. So like how it's determined is like players have at least 2 but less than 3 years of major league service, and they must rank in the top 22% among those with similar service time. So like odds are if he's a really good player, like he's gonna qualify for that. So I think generally they want to hold on to him a little bit longer, bring him up right after that deadline.
Okay.
And so that's why I imagine like we'll see him brought up after that. And it kind of fits honestly though, like the time to probably feel comfortable enough with him actually swinging it well. Teams will hide behind that and say, "Oh, yeah, it's because we want to make sure he's ready." But honestly, like that would be the timeline I'd probably throw on it anyways.
Okay. That makes sense. All right, let's keep going through double A.
So CJ Kafis, who's on the same team with him, he had a phenomenal year last year. And like some of the underlying contact rates are not as high as you'd expect. And even through this year, they aren't. But this guy is 16 for 31 to start the year
Mm.
with three triples and a homer. So he's hitting 516, which is ridiculous. I don't know if he's going to have enough power to carry first base. Yeah, but he just continues to hit. So every time I think like, oh, maybe he'll slow down at the upper levels, he's off to a ridiculously good start. They've also played him a little bit in left, so that could be a way that he stays in the lineup. But hard to argue against those results so far.
If let's say the Guardians are hovering around 500 and they get a trade partner for Carlos Santana, do you think that he would come up with Travis Bazzana, or you do still think that he's a little bit further off?
I mean, if he's continuing to perform like this, I could see him coming up after the year that he had last year as well. I could see them being a little bit more aggressive with him. It wouldn't shock me at all.
Keep going. Who else we got?
Tommy Troy, he's showing
Mm.
some signs of life. The guy's been hurt a lot, and in the D-back system, their first round pick. Like, it's been a guy that has been super, super banged up, and that has really affected his development and his path and everything. And I'm a little skeptical of the start, but I do think that it's encouraging no matter how you look at it. 13 for 32 to start the year. That's a 406 batting average, 12 walks, and just 8 strikeouts. I think is the big thing to watch. Just the fact that he's been so patient. He hasn't pulled the ball a ton. He's still really going inside out quite often, and he's pulverizing fastballs. That's something that he's always kind of done, and then the secondaries have given him issues. But I think anytime you see your former first round pick off to a good start after what's been kind of a couple rough years, I think you're going to be really excited and encouraged by that. Sal Stewart of the Reds. Another guy that I probably should have had on the top 100 list, and he was on the just missed, and he will be in the update as well. He had a day the other day, but what he's doing as a 21-year-old, he'll be 21 for the entirety of the season in Double A, is pretty crazy, especially considering it's a Southern League and it's hard to hit there. 375, 444, 688. The game specifically that I looked at was the last one on Sunday where he faced, or 2 days ago, I'm sorry, on Saturday, he faced Noah Schultz, who's one of the best pitchers in the minor leagues. And he took a fastball like a ball off the plate and shot it the other way for a double. Then he took a slider inside and pulled it down the line for a double. And then he ends up hitting a walk-off grand slam in that same game. This guy can hit, man. He's just a natural hitter. Joe Mack, the Marlins, catcher plus defender. So you kind of look at the offense as like just anything you can get from him. And he broke out offensively last year, and he's doing more of it now in the Southern League again. He's probably a candidate to get promoted to Triple-A the second the Marlins bring up Agustin Ramirez from the Triple-A level to the big leagues. 348, 483, 696 slash line for him. 2 home runs and 2 doubles. He's a phenomenal defender back there as well. Good receiver, plus arm. He's already thrown out 36% of base stealers, so that's a guy that I know the Marlins are very excited about. And then another former first rounder that he's had some ups and downs, but last year was a big step in the right direction, and he's off to a good start this year. Chase Davis to the Cardinals, outfielder. 324, 478, 559 slash line, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, but way more patient this year. 9 walks and 10 strikeouts so far in the early going.
My
Pitcher
question,
side? Oh, hitters.
I was just going to ask real quick, going over all of the early performers, and I know just because a guy is performing early doesn't necessarily mean that he is a great prospect, but it does seem like you're picking a lot of guys that you mostly believe in that are also off to good starts. And a team that continues to ring through every level is the Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
Do you think the Diamondbacks have one of the best systems in baseball?
I would have said absolutely not. Going into this year, I honestly thought it was one of the weaker in the middle tier, but all of their guys are raking to start the season. So I think it's getting strong real quick. I think they nailed the draft, and clearly, time will tell. But I thought they nailed it the day of the draft, and with Waldschmidt and Caldwell looking great out of the gate, that's awesome. If Troy is resurging again, Drew Jones has actually been good to start the year, so we'll see how that goes. But it's 100%, I think, improved internally as much as any farm system in over the last maybe like year. If you go from the second half of last season into the early going in this season and include the draft, I don't think a lot of other teams have improved without trading away big league talent.
The reason I wanted to ask that is I feel like team system rankings, when you're comparing it, to other teams, because you're doing this all the time, it's very fluid.
Yeah.
Like
Oh, without a
one
doubt.
year, right? The Yankees went from a decent system to one of the worst in baseball in like a year, right? And D-backs might go from one of the weaker to one of the better ones in a year. This can happen all the time. So I think continually updating these and being like, yeah, this system is a lot better. And especially if you're a Diamondbacks fan listening, going into the season, you thought, are we going to have the pieces to make a big time trade if we need it? You might now. And I
Yeah.
think that's a really cool thing. So continue on the AA pitcher side.
Well, to your point, especially when your 3 first round picks who weren't very good last year are all playing well this year out of the gate if they can maintain
Huge.
it. Jordan Lawler's healthy, and he has an 895 OPS in AAA. So you have Lawler performing, you have Troy looking like he's performing, and then Drew Jones looking like they're performing. Like, yeah, those are 3 first rounders that are playing well, and then your 2 first rounders from this past year are great out of the gate. Yeah, that's going to change the perception of your system quite quickly. So that's the cool part about these things. And yeah, I agree with you. And look, they're going to be trying to win now, so they could put together some competitive packages when the time comes. Nolan McLean He was a two-way guy for the Mets out of the gate. I thought that was crazy, and they scrapped that. Now he's just pitching, and I'm glad he is because he is really, really good. One earned run in 9 innings so far in Double A, 14 strikeouts and 3 walks. But this might be one of the best sweepers in minor league baseball. It is disgusting. I think it's 70 grade, and he just has a ridiculous feel to spin it. It can eclipse 3,000 RPM. His curveball gets over like 3,200 RPM. The fastball, he has gotten more confident with it and locating it. The four seamer, the sinker, it's a low release point, so it gets a lot of ground balls. I mean, when you're striking out 38% of base or percent of hitters, and you're getting a ground ball at an above average clip as well, you're gonna have a lot of success. So McLean looks like he's gonna get right up there with Sprout and be kind of 1A and 1B in this farm system, and he's gonna be one of the bigger climbers I think on our top 100 list as well. TK Roby, another guy that like for the Cardinals, it's just all about health, and he was acquired in that Jordan Montgomery deal. He kind of had a lost season last year as a guy that was looking like a consensus top 100 prospect, but has dealt with shoulder, elbow, all these different ailments, and the velo was down and the command wasn't there. Early going this year, he's been fantastic. 0 earned runs in 8 innings, 10 strikeouts, 1 walk. And the velo being, I mean, the last time out, we just saw him throw 4 innings. He averaged 97 miles an hour on the fastball. Like when
Wow.
he's there, he's going to be damn good because the breaking balls are nasty. So really excited that TK Roby looks healthy. And then speaking of healthy and upticks in velo, Hunter Barco, Pittsburgh Pirates, 6'5" lefty. Remember out of the University of Florida, but was coming off of Tommy John surgery when he was drafted, and the velo didn't come back immediately for him. He was like low 90s in 2023 when he came back, and then he was 92, 93 last year, but then we started to see that velocity creep up a little bit more and a little bit more, and now he's sitting 93, 94, and from a crossfire delivery as a 6'5" lefty, that's going to play. And
Yeah.
8 innings, scoreless, 1 walk, 8 Ks. It's kind of that Sean Manaea thing that he's got going on there. And it helps the slider play up. He mixes in a splitter, but the fastball just seems to get a lot of whiff, even at a relatively average velocity. I really like him. It's also really hard to get the ball in the air off of him. I think Barco is a big name to watch in the Pirate system this year, too.
So that'll wrap up Double A.
Yep.
Perfect. So before we get to the Triple A level, our last break.
Who do you think is going to be the first bat we talk about in AAA? Wild guess.
Can it be Nick Kurtz?
Yeah, it's Nick Kurtz.
Yeah.
How could it be anybody else?
He has
367,
Yeah.
409, 817. This guy's so good. He's making them play Brent Rooker in the outfield.
Yeah. So
That's the amazing part. I was like, the second we see Brent Rooker play in the outfield, it's time to start like watching, see if they're going to call him up.
so here's my question, and that's why I'm so glad that we cleared up the Super 2 thing with Travis Bazana. Like, is Nick Kurtz a guy where the A's are thinking to themselves, hey, it doesn't matter. Like, let's get him up right now. Look at what he's doing in AAA. I know it's the PCL where it's an easier league to hit in, but look at the production. It's near a 200 WRC plus. He seems like he hits a home run every single day. Or the A's are 6-10. Do you think they're just trying Brent Rooker in right field, knowing Nick Kurtz will eventually come up, but we still shouldn't expect him until after that Super 2 deadline?
It's interesting because I think for a team like the A's, they may be okay with it because, yeah, basically, Super 2 aspect of it is like a player could earn an extra year of arbitration, meaning like they're going to get paid more earlier. So the A's have made it clear that they're okay with paying a little bit more money right now. So maybe they'll be all right doing that. I think he could be an exception to that one because they're off to, I think, an exciting start offensively. You can see the potential there. They've been trying to make it clear that they're going to spend now and avoid grievances and whatever it may be. So I think you welcome that problem if you're the A's, where he's among the top 22% of players and he gets that extra year of arbitration and he makes a little bit more money. I think the A's, who will be in Vegas at that point, are okay with that. So they might not be as worried about that. And that's why I think we could see him sooner rather than later.
I want to see him tomorrow.
I agree.
I literally want to see him tomorrow. I want to
7
see
homers.
I want to
7.
see what that lineup looks like with Nick Kurtz slotted in there. Like, this is so exciting. And they could go lefty righty with all these young guys down to the 7 spot. And all 7 are legit young pieces.
Yep.
The only non young piece is Brent Rooker, who's the best hitter on the team anyway, who
Yep.
they signed to that extension. Like, this is an exciting time. I wish I could say in Oakland,
Yeah.
right? But this is an exciting time in non city designation.
100%. It really is. And it's, I think the fact that they've got another guy knocking on the door and you have all of the production, and I like that you mentioned the platoon side of things too. So like if you are a little bit aggressive and you feel like he's not 100% ready, just have him go heavy against righties. And I think he's going to be a lot more comfortable against righties. And just by the way, to add a little bit more perspective here, or just data here, average exit velocity of 95 miles per hour, which is just hilarious. But there's actually a funnier one that I'm going to mention next. Roman Anthony, of course, number one prospect in baseball, has 885 OPS to start the year, but it's really solid given like a WR from a WRC plus perspective because he's not hitting on the moon like Nick Kurtz is. Kurtz's all fields power is just crazy though. So like I think even if he was playing somewhere else, a lot of these balls would be no doubters, and he's going to end up going to a PCL ballpark anyway. So it works out for his home there. But Roman Anthony's scorching baseballs and an 885 OPS and the International League is damn good. His average exit velocity, I understand it's an 18 batted ball sample, but it's just this is hilarious. Roman Anthony's average exit velocity is 100 miles per hour.
100?
It's 100.
We were just gushing on the roundup that Corbin Carroll is at around 96 miles an hour and how insane that is from his frame and how it is in the top 10 of Major League Baseball. You just said 100.
Yeah,
And
like
I
it's
don't
not
even give a
sustainable,
shit.
of course, but like
I don't care if it's a small sample. Like, I don't. Like, if it's 100 at least more than 2 balls.
it's 28, excuse me, not 18.
Yeah, that's
28.
even better. Like, I'm buying that. If I'm a Red Sox fan, I'm running with that narrative all over social
He's
media.
going to break the average exit velocity
Yeah,
record.
yeah, I'm running with that. I don't care. I don't even need to hear that it was 28. You could keep it at 18, and I'm still running with that narrative.
How insane is that, though? 28 batted balls, and the average of them is 100 miles per hour. He has 6 batted balls against fastballs, and the average exit velocity of them is 107.
That's absurd. I mean,
He,
those are video game numbers.
he hits everything so freaking hard. Uh, they're going to find a spot for him soon. They have to.
They have to. I mean, I don't
Someone
know
who
how.
is not going to have a spot found for him. I just don't know how. Is Alex Freeland of the Dodgers?
Of course.
344, 431, 484 slash line. A homer and 6 doubles, and he's playing a good shortstop. Switch hitter. I don't know. We Jack and I talked about it on the call up. Like I don't know where they put him.
Here's the take. I have no fucking idea.
Like we were talking about like shuffling things around a little bit, maybe with the Dodgers team, but like I don't know how you do it. He could be one of the best trade chips. Like this is where it gets the like, circling back to the Sandy conversation. If you call the Marlins and say, we'll give you Alex Freeland and Josue DePaula, or Alex Freeland and Zaire Hope and a piece or two or whatever, like how do you say no to that? It would be really hard to say no to that.
Yeah.
So that's where it's like it could be you could force them to, but I just wonder like people are kind of exhausted with Andy Pages. You move Edmund to center field. If Max Muncy continues to struggle a ton, it looks like maybe age is catching up with him. Maybe that's the way that we see him get an opportunity. I'm interested because he's doing his part and he did his part all year last year too.
So you promised me there'd be a Yankee. Can we talk about Spencer Jones now, even though he's probably in Double A?
Well, next up is, I forgot he's not a Yankee anymore. Agustin Ramirez of the Miami Marlins is off to a really good start this year. 280, 345, 520 slash line. This is why I can kind of buy into the Marlins a little bit more too, and just in terms of just making some noise. They're starting Nick Forte. They started Brantley yesterday, by the way. That was crazy.
Did you see that non-tag? He just caught the ball and
he
then
hosed Griffin. That should have been a defensive run save for Griffin.
it was right there. He had the ball tag him.
It was in his hand.
was in his hand.
I don't know what happened there. Brantley, the last time he played for the Marlins, I was a sophomore in high school, I think. Like that was crazy. I texted Griff that I was like, last time Brantley was in the Marlins, who's now your teammate. We were playing for Coach Stofsky, who was like our coach my junior year or sophomore year. But that was weird. But anyway, huge upgrade potential here. Where Ramirez is just needs to get to the point where his defense is like 40 grade, and I think it's just about there. And when the Marlins feel like it's the right time, you're bringing up a guy that can hit 20 to 25 home runs. 520 slug for him right now, and he's just torching baseballs all over the yard. Another catcher that's doing the same thing, but he's not a great catcher, Moises Ballesteros. Guy just hits. He may end up becoming just the best trade piece for them because I think a lot of teams will be interested in the bat, and maybe if you're rebuilding, a little bit more patient with the glove. 333, 385, 438 slash line. There's more slug in there, and it's going to come. But the field of hit for him is just so insane.
For the Cubs, right?
Cubs.
Yeah. It'd be
Yeah.
interesting. I wonder how
Because Carson Kelly looks good. Like,
yeah, no, the reason I'm just racking my brain on him is, you're talking about a team being more patient with the glove, and I totally understand that, but it's like the Cubs have technically a hole at catcher.
I know
And
that's the thing.
the
Maybe they
reason I
don't
go
dangle.
technically and everyone on YouTube is seeing the fingers in quotes is because their lineup is so good that the only hole is catcher. And I know Carson Kelly hit for the cycle and the numbers look good early, but it's like, all right, is Carson Kelly going to be the catcher all year? And then Miguel Amaya, like he's shown good spurts, but it's like, do you want him to be the catcher full time? So I'm sure even Cubs fans listening to this are like, I don't, I don't want to be patient with the glove. I just want to see the bat in the lineup and like, if maybe he could catch a little bit. Like, do you think there's any hope that he could catch this year and be passable?
I think if it's like, if he's catching twice a week, sure. Like, catch twice a week in DH. Say Suzuki's hurt too. If he's
Bro,
missing more time, like that could be the way. But if Amaya and Kelly are swinging it really well come like July,
there's no
then
point.
maybe if a team's like, this is the only way you can get our stud player, maybe they'll be a little bit more willing to move him. Maybe.
So no Yankees yet.
No, I don't think there's any. I don't- I'll give you Griffin Herring in low A. He's
Oh, great.
22, but he's got zero ERA through 10 and a third.
Oh, great. He's only 22.
Yeah, only 22 in low
Okay.
A.
All right, just keep going down the list. I have more questions.
Logan Henderson, I know you brought him up before we recorded. Like
Yeah.
Brewers, if he could throw more strikes, I don't think the Brewers would have been as desperate to go get a Quinn Priester, but I just don't know if they have enough confidence in his ability to throw strikes. That said, I'm sure they have all the confidence in the world in his ability to miss barrels. He's kind of a Tobias Myers starter kit where it's 93-mile-an-hour fastball can get up to 95, super flat attack angle, crazy ride for a low release height, and hitters just consistently swing under it. So that's why in 14 innings at AAA, he struck out 24 and he's pitching to a 3.21 ERA, but he has 10 walks. So you can feel confident in this guy at least being like a reliever for you this year, multi-inning reliever in some capacity. But the fact that he can get like 17, 18 inches of vert, sometimes 20 inches of vert from like a 5.4 release height, average is 5.9. So he's like a half foot lower than the average release height, and he's getting above average carry for the average release height. So it puts it in perspective there. Like it's plus plus carry, but you can't walk 10 in 14 innings.
Yeah. But I
Change up
wanted
off of that's disgusting as well. So he's got those two pitches working for him. They're going to use him one way or another. Last start was great. 5 innings, no hit, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts. But he had 5 walks and 3 walks in the outings before that. So he's probably the next man up, but he's going to need to show that he can be around the zone more.
the reason I wanted you to bring him up was I saw a 40% strikeout rate from a
Yeah.
pitcher in AAA for Milwaukee, and then you couple in the fact that they made a big time trade in order to get Quinn Priester, and they have a need for pitching right now. So I'm like, what's the deal here?
Yep.
Like, he's clearly unbelievably disgusting. He's in AAA. What's the holdup? And the holdup seems to be that he is nasty. He's so nasty, he's not really throwing strikes with all
Yeah,
of
he's
these
too nasty
nasty
for
pitches.
himself.
Yeah, he's almost too nasty, and that's the problem. One more that I have that I wanted to ask you about, and this guy went from more pitchability. Zebby Matthews with the Twins. He's a guy who 6% walk rate in his rookie season when he got called up, 24% strikeout rate. Looked to have decent stuff, but the reason I liked him is because he was filling up the zone consistently with strikes. And now he got hit a little bit. And then he went back down. And this year, did I see 99? Am I seeing these big old velo upticks? And then I go to look at the stats, 33.3% strikeout minus walk ratio. Like he's not walking anybody and striking out guys at an elite rate, 1.80 ERA, but they just called up David Festa, who I like too.
Yeah.
And he turned in a good start. So I'm not saying that Zebby should have been called over David Festa. I just don't know why both of them might not be in this rotation right now, or some in the bullpen are just getting this arm up when he's throwing 99-mile-an-hour bullets and has already proven that he could throw plenty of strikes.
And he had a good spring too. Like
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't really get it. And his issue was honestly just being around the zone too much last year.
Yeah.
And like that's I feel like a pretty easy thing to adjust, especially when you throw hard. So I mean, I think he's almost wasting bullets in AAA right now, to be honest. Like it's interesting because I mean, what is Chris Paddock still getting starts right now?
Yeah.
I haven't checked in on the Twins in,
Yeah.
in a few
No,
days.
I just watched Paddock have his best start of the season, 5 innings, 2 runs.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
I
got
mean,
5 Ks.
I
Strike
guess
up per
they're
inning.
just going to wait to try to figure more things out with that rotation. But like Paddock hasn't been good. Uh, You're not going to move, obviously, Ober or Ryan. Like those guys are hanging out for now. But I do think that there's going to be a point in time if they continue to struggle that they sell, and they should probably. And then how many teams can just fill up their rotation with solid AAA arms like
Yeah.
quickly? The Twins can. So like that's the interesting part of it. Like if they sell, they could get a ridiculous haul for several different players, and then you could fill the rotation with solid young arms like a David Festa, like a Zebby Matthews, and there's several others that are on the way. I would almost rather see them do that, but I know they're going to try to ride this thing out a little bit longer. But Andrew Morris as well at the AAA level for the Twins has 10 scoreless to start the season. He's another just pitchability guy who gets outs. So I would almost like to see them fill out the rotation with these solid pitchability arms with control. And you could sell some pieces, especially the arms, to give yourself one of the best farm systems in baseball.
My next question surrounds the Pittsburgh Pirates. And it surrounds Bubba Chandler, who's off to, again, 33.3% strikeout minus walk ratio, the same exact one as Zebby Matthews, 1.69 ERA in AAA, throwing buzz balls by people. This guy's unbelievably disgusting. And we saw the confidence. We know that offseason interview, or I'm not sure it was the offseason, but basically Bubba Chandler was telling Paul Skeens, congrats on opening day. It's your last one because I'm going to take it from you for the rest of the time. And I love that confidence. And he's showing it on the field. He's absolutely dominating AAA. And if I have to see Carmen Majinski, Andrew Heaney, Bailey Falter, like Jared Jones goes down, and instead of it being the Bubba Chandler show, it's the Carmen Majinski show. And I know Majinski's young, he's 26 years old, but I'd rather see Bubba Chandler. Andrew Heaney is 34. I know he's giving you some good starts, but can we get Bailey Falter's 7.20 ERA out of here for Bubba Chandler? What's going on?
This is definitely a guy who I think they will
Super
take
2.
advantage of. Yeah.
Great. Great. Service manipulation time. Great. Good job, Pirates.
He touched 102 on Sunday.
Buzzballs.
This is the first guy in a while where, like, when I was at the spring breakout game, and I was recording and watching, I just laughing watching him just blow the fastball at 100 by guys. It's 100 with ride.
Yeah.
And you can like hear it like whizzing out of his hand. It's nuts.
Can I say something? Can I say something? I think this is a better pitching prospect than Jared Jones.
I actually agree. I do think he is more, because he's got the changeup too. And it's just like turbo changeup at like 92. And then he's got the slide. Like it may not be as elite of a slider that Jones has, but he's got a really good cutter and a really solid changeup and a curveball that'll mix in there. Like that's pretty damn good. And he's got a regular slider as well. So he's got like all these different pitches that will kind of come at you with. It's mostly fastball, slider, changeup, but having just the three, and also the horizontal separation is crazy. So like His four-seam fastball is 18 inches of vert and 8 inches of horizontal. Then his changeup is 6 inches of vert and 18 inches of horizontal. So the shape difference there too. He's going to be a problem, man. And he's only getting better, and he's only throwing harder. He's 22.
Call him up.
I'm really excited about this guy.
Call him up.
Please.
I don't have any more questions. Do you have any more performers?
Another Brewers prospect. Can I just copy paste everything I said about Logan Henderson and just turn up the turn up the sliders? Like Jacob Mizorowski's been great to start the year, but and they're committed to developing him as a starter now. He's allowed 3 hits in 13 and 2/3 innings, and he has a 0.66 ERA. That's 1 earned run, 16 strikeouts, 10 walks. So
Damn it.
it's the same story. Like he's so insane though that it's like if you give up like 2 hits a start and you walk 3 or 4, does that work?
I think that
Generally,
works.
I want to say no, but
That's the Blake Snell equation.
yeah, he
Like
might just be.
He gives up 6 base runners. 2 of them are hits.
Yeah, like opponents are hitting 070 against him.
I think you just got to try it. Be like, yeah, he's gonna walk some guys. Like, fuck it. It's like,
I think they might be close to just doing saying, "Fuck it, let's see what happens."
like 5 innings, 2 hits, 7 Ks, 3 walks.
I think he could do that.
That's 5 base runners. That's a base runner an inning. Yeah, the WHIP's gonna be 1.2. ERA's
No one's hitting him.
ERA is going to be low 3s, and his strikeout rate's going to be super high. Like, why don't we just try it? I think that's what the Brewers are probably thinking about when they're like, we're committing to developing him as a starter. Like, yeah, he's probably not going to throw that many strikes. Okay. He's also not going to really give up any hits because he's just that disgusting.
Yep. I'm with it. I think they should try it at some point relatively soon. They might as well. Noah Cameron.
You know what? Fuck it. Bring up Logan Henderson too. Let's have both. Let's just see what happens.
It's a walk show.
Yeah. Get William Contreras back there. Be like, you got to frame the shit out of these guys today.
I was thinking about that. Like you better frame everything, and that's the other impossible part. You got to frame 100 from Mizorowski.
Good luck. And he doesn't even know where it's going.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, that's a nightmare.
Good luck.
Noah Cameron. I've been singing his praises all off season about a guy that I think could actually help that Royals rotation if they need it. They don't right now. 16 and a third innings, 18 strikeouts, 6 walks, a 1.65 ERA for the Royals. He looks fantastic. Then Ian Seymour. The Rays don't need him either right now, but he looks amazing also. He did have his first kind of like human start. He gave up 3 solo shots against Buffalo, but it was still 5 innings of 3 earned, 2 walks, 8 Ks. But so far to start the season, Seymour, 15 innings, 23 strikeouts, and 3 walks. And he's doing this like while sitting 90 to 92. It's just funky, nasty changeup. Rays have another guy coming.
Of course.
And then, oh, what?
I said, of course they do. That's all I said. Yeah.
Of course. And they've got more on the way. And then another Brewers guy, real quick. This is a hitter.
Oh my God. I think this is like the 7th Brewer.
I think they are as good as any. I think like as good as any team is developing talent. Like it's really incredible. Ernesto Martinez. Remember this name. He's 25. He's in AAA. He is hitting the living shit out of the baseball. He's 6'6". I think he's better than Jake Bauers right now. I think we'll see him up there
Jake Bauers right now.
very soon. Very, very soon. The contact skills have just skyrocketed. He's not chasing. This is like maybe one of the more like this will be like the guy you never heard of who actually makes noise in Major League Baseball this year. Could be Ernesto Martinez.
Ernesto Martinez, first baseman.
First baseman.
And he just sits there and just donkey pops his way to production.
I want to say his average exit velocity is going to be absolutely comical. Let me pull that before we call it an episode because I would venture to say his is hilarious. Ernesto Martinez. I can't believe how much contact he's making too. Yeah. Average exit velocity on 33 batted balls of 98 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's going to play.
Yeah. Yeah. So look out for Ernesto Martinez.
Well, could Rhys Hoskins block him with his well below average defense, nothing on the base pass, and maybe a homer every other series?
I think we're not too far away from Ernesto time, I think. Hoskins might just be short platoon.
Yeah.
at some point, like early this season, I think.
All right. I think that's it, right? Should we get to my last word?
Yes.
So, my last word for this episode, I was talking with Arm again before we press the record button that in my downtime, when I'm like, all right, I need a second away from baseball because that's what we do from as soon as we wake up to when we go to bed. But if I have an hour or something, or I want to get away from baseball, I've been really deep into history. I already love baseball history, just have a passion for history. It's one of my favorite subjects in school. So, I've just been on the YouTube machine queuing up history videos. And one that I've always found was really interesting was why is Greenland and Iceland named the way that they are? Because Greenland is like 90% ice and Iceland is like 90% green. It's beautiful. But why are they called the opposite of each other? And
I
I asked
want
you,
I know it. When you tell me, I'm gonna remember it. I think. I'll be honest.
so here's the reason why Greenland is called Greenland and Iceland is called Iceland. I think it's fascinating. In the ninth century, Norwegian Vikings landed in Iceland. Viking settlers arrived in the winter, where only a month or two out of the year it gets really cold. And there was a trend here with new explorers and settlers that they would name the place that they went to kind of as soon as they landed there based on what they saw. So they landed in Iceland and they saw it was cold, so they named it Iceland before realizing that most of the year it was very, very green. It was lush with tons of grass and all that good stuff. And then once it was populated, so settlers go there and they're like, all right, this is a perfect place to live. Sometime later, a Viking named Eric the Red was exiled and sailed west looking for land. He arrived and found a place almost nearly covered with ice, but he knew that if he named it after a place that was really, really cold, like another Iceland or something, nobody would want to go there. So he just named it Greenland so people would follow him there. So basically, the reason that Greenland is called Greenland, even though it's 90% ice, is because Eric the Red was lonely. He wanted people to come join him. I just think all these historical things, like the reason we call something this or the reason we found this, like some of the stories are just people being people, and it really just comes down to Eric the Red felt lonely and he was like, I want people to come here, but nobody's going to come here if I call it Snowland. Let me call it Greenland so people are more incentivized to come. And that's why we've been calling it that ever since. I think
Yeah, I
that's
didn't know
wild.
that. And that's like we still do that, right? Like, oh, yo, dude, like come out. The bar is really fun right now.
Yeah,
Like
exactly. And it's
it's
not.
not.
Yeah.
It's not a good time at all. I just don't want to be stuck there by myself. Like, yeah, it's no different. That is crazy, actually. It also reminds you like so many things that like we've normalized in society in terms of like what we call things or whatever that like you think would have some sort of complex explanation, and it could be just the dumbest explanation in the world.
That's what it mostly is. Like doing all these history dives, like most of the biggest events in world history are people just being dumb.
Yep.
Like that's mostly history.
Yep.
So that's your history corner last word here with me. On the next few episodes, I'm going to be bringing more history facts. So let me know if you enjoy the history facts or you're like, Peter, we don't need to learn about history. Find some new last words. Let us know in the YouTube comments below. And while you're down there, hit that subscribe button and hit the like button as well. And also, if you would be so kind to rate and review if you've been enjoying the Just Baseball Show, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, rating and reviewing 5 stars, and even leaving a written review. And if you're interested, as you can see, Aram knows everything about every single minor leaguer that there is, and he's been breaking all of it down in our Discord. He's got a prospect Q&A that he's been doing as well. So if you're interested in more information, you could go check out the call up. But if you want to talk with him directly, make sure to join the Discord. My bets are in there. We got MLB talk, fantasy baseball, trading cards, MLB draft coverage, college stuff. Join, right? Because over the trade deadline. We're going to be doing everything, talking about rumors. So if you are interested, it's just $10 a month. You can find the link in the episode description. And of course, go get yourself some Just Baseball merch. I'm rocking the sickest hat, maybe in the world. For Arm Layton, I'm Peter Apple. Wednesday is normally our flex day. If we get an interview in time, we will have an interview then. But if not, we will see you Thursday and Friday. And with that, thank you, everybody.